Alright, you guys, I'm back with another video. This particular video I've been pondering on for a while, and it's something that I really want to express because I feel like a lot of people just have this standard behind healing. People have pretty much the same perception about healing, and I know for a fact that people have just not done enough work to really understand what happens when you do so much emotional work, that where it does lead you to. So before we get into this video, just for people who are subscribing to the channel, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. My name is Joshua Tree. I am an energy worker. I help people remove energy blockages. I help people with their chakras. I also do breathwork facilitation. That's an in-person type of work. So I am located in the New Orleans area. I also do spiritual coaching and spiritual consultations. We can do that over Zoom, a video call, or over the phone. And of course I teach, right? And so that's in a nutshell of who I am for people who are getting more interested into knowing more about me. So just stay tuned because I got a lot of gems to drop. And so now that we got that out the way, my style is going straight into the video. I'm not gonna hold you. I like to get straight into things. So in this particular video, we're gonna be talking a lot about healing and like kind of debunking some of these concepts I've heard over the years in a lot of conscious spiritual communities about healing. And one of the concepts that people talk so much about is how we will always be healing. You will never be healed. Some people may have heard that expression before, some people may haven't. But for the most part, I've heard people over the years say like, you're never fully healed. You will always be healing. And I'm like, that don't make no motherfucking sense. Because if you've done a lot of work, you will know that eventually it comes a time where you start to know what it is that you're doing. And what I mean by that is, what are you identifying with on a consistent basis that makes you think that you are constantly in a state of perpetually healing yourself? And so we're going to use the symbology of the lotus flower. So for some people may or may not know, the lotus flower is a very spiritual, symbolic expression that has been utilized through a lot of spiritual traditions to kind of express the alchemy that we are going through internally. The work that we're doing, the transmutation that we're doing is also expressed through the lotus flower. So with the lotus flower, with the lotus flower, the nature of the lotus flower is that it literally grows in darkness. It is like, let's say, planted, seeded in murky waters, right? Which murky waters represents adversity. It represents our conflicting emotions. It represents blockages. It represents our plight, right? This flower is residing or I guess you say ruminating. Can't think of the word I want to use, but basically, sitting in this particular water, and it's dark and it's murky. And what the flower does, it ascends up out of the water into this beautiful flower. Now, as the flower rises up out of the murky waters into this fully blossomed flower, what that represents rebirth, that represents transmutation, that represents enlightenment, that represents purity. So, we have a lot of impurities that are residing inside of us, whether it's mental, whether it's emotional, spiritual, physical. We have all these impurities that we need to purify. And you do this purification work through chakra practices, somatic exercises or breathing practices, breath work. You can even purify yourself even through different forms of psychotherapy. I'm not a big fan of psychotherapy, but I do understand the benefits of psychotherapy. But It is very extremely helpful to some degrees, but we're talking about holistically. Psychotherapy only, to me, I mean, obviously it's right. Psyche, it only deals more with the mind, so that's more of a mental purification. I feel like that can happen with psychotherapy, but you need more of a holistic purification to truly get this flower that's inside of you to grow to its heightened state. And this particular Lotus flower, it's drawn to the light of the sun. It goes up towards the sun where the light is shining down. So from darkness comes light. And so that's what we're doing on a consistent basis. We're becoming aware of our darkness and going to the light. And so, or bringing forth the light. And so when I hear a lot of people say, this is an evident journey where we're constantly healing, and it's like, bro, that don't make no fucking sense. It just doesn't. So let's go a little bit deeper. When you think about, okay, it's a perfect example. You see this right here? This was a scab that I had on my arm. I had this on my arm maybe 2-3 weeks ago. Now, this scab took a while just to get like this, where you see this black part right here on the side, you know what I'm saying? Let you know that's about to scab up and go back to normal. When you cut yourself, what does the body do? You don't have to tell the body to do anything. The body naturally heals itself, naturally. This scab was once an open wound, and then it became a scab to where it's showing me that it's getting closer to its healing process, to where it's about to end the healing process. Meaning there's not going to be a scab or a cut, let's just say, that I'm going to be dealing with for the next 50 years. It's going to eventually heal and close up, and then that's going to be the end of it. So when a lot of these, a lot of people in a lot of communities say, oh, it's a never-ending journey, we will always be healing. That don't make no sense. Because if the body can heal itself and show you through the physical that it can heal itself, then why cannot be applied to the emotions? I will tell you why it cannot be applied to the emotions, but it can be applied to the emotions if you know what you're doing. So I get why they say that, but like I said, it's a lack of not knowing. Because the thing about the physical body, what makes it more of a practical understanding of why it does that is because the physical body deals with form. Emotions deals with the formless. And so if it deals with the formless, that means that it can constantly recreate itself because it has no form. But with the physical body, if I cut myself again, there's a form in that energy field. There's a form in that energy. So like if I cut my arm right here, the body has like it has the blueprint of how this cut has been, what's the word? Let's say, how has been, I guess you could say, induced, I guess you could say, or implanted, I guess you can say, into my arm. So like you have an energetic body, you have a physical body. There's like 7, this is a side note, there's 7 different type of bodies. But you have the physical body, which most people are aware of, and then you have the energetic body. And so the energetic body is the blueprint for the physical body. And so when you cut yourself, there's an energetic imprint to that cut. And being that the energetic body and the physical body are closely related, this makes it where it's still form. It's an energetic body, but it has form to it. When you get to the higher bodies, such as the emotional body, which a lot of us struggle with, is the emotional body is actually a higher body. It's more formless. And so when we talk about emotional, trauma, let's just say, things that we're challenged with emotionally, we'll say, oh, emotions is a never-ending thing. You're always going to be healing. And it's like, okay, so if you tell me you have had some type of trauma with, let me prime example. I lost my mother in 2018. What's the emotional response to that? It was emotional trauma. The emotional trauma occurred in my heart, grieving, right? The loss of someone and grieving for someone. That was an emotion that I actually can feel in my physical heart, but it's an emotion, right? And so someone would say, oh, well, I'm still grieving. I totally understand that because I went through the same thing. You could be grieving for years. That's a thing. I get it. But if you don't know how to, or if you're not willing to let go, of this particular emotion, this experience, it will stay in your heart. So I remember it was a time where in 2018, I had the experience with my mom. And then, of course, I'm crying and all these things. And then this was when I was heavy into like a lot of occult science. So I'm looking up, Bobby Hemming and Brother Panic was my two teachers. Bobby Hemming recommended a book. I bought the book, and I instantly elevated my understanding about the death, about the transition and the afterlife, and people dying and stuff. I understood what it was, and I was able to have a better experience of my mama's passing. And so much so that I was able to share a poem with my mother at her funeral, and like I was the one that people was coming to for support because I had a mental understanding of what this was. That doesn't mean that I healed though. See, I want you guys to listen to this story. I thought I was healed because I wasn't crying no more, and I felt like I had reassurance. I had certainty on what happens when a person passes away. So I'm like, nah, like y'all crying, but y'all don't even know, like this is part of the experience. This is a universal experience. They're just on the other side. They're more in the spiritual realm. I put up my altar. I understand that they're not in a spiritual form. And so therefore, I'm gonna just connect to them that way. Boom. Very logical, very rational, makes sense. Let's keep it moving. That's what I did. Fast forward into 2023. Yeah, since last year, I had got a Reiki healing session done. And one of my close friends, shout out to you, one of my close friends gave me a Reiki healing session. And she was telling me about my heart. And she was like, yeah, you still have grievancy in your heart from when your mama passed. When she said that, I instantly started crying. Instantly. Because I didn't know then, back, in 2018. But when she said it, it was truth. It was like a truth that hit me because I thought that I had gotten rid of it. But in reality, all I did was suppress it with knowledge and education and information that I got from a book. So the knowledge and the wisdom and education definitely supported me, but it also suppressed the emotion of my mother transitioning. And so when that particular experience happened, I was like, oh, okay. Like they say, it's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. It doesn't matter what it is that we do in our life. The body's always going to keep the score in terms of how you are processing or how you're receiving that experience. So if, you experience something and, you be like, oh, it doesn't bother me anymore. Yeah, it may not be bothering you in the moment, but it's probably still stored somewhere in the body. And this is what we call triggers, right? An emotional trigger. You could say, oh, this person doesn't bother anymore. Like so you'd be like, I haven't talked to this person in 2-3 years. I mean, it just is what it is. You see this person at Walmart and then you instantly triggered. What just happened? I thought the person doesn't bother you anymore. I thought you was good. No, you're not, silly rabbit. You're not good because the emotion is still stored in the body. You haven't released it out of the body. And so when we talk about emotional healing, which is a higher form of healing than physical healing, we're talking about something that creates let's say a trifecta effect where you can get an emotional release, you can get a mental release, and you can get a physical release, right? Because I don't know if you guys know, but they say 95 to 99%, what have you, whatever the numbers are, that a lot of the illnesses that people are experiencing in the medical industry are emotional related. Stress and all that type of stuff is all emotional related, and that's what's creating all these diseases and illnesses that people are experiencing. Why is that? Because the emotions are still sitting in the body and they're festering and they're creating a lot of pain, right? Like you might start off with a small trace of emotion that say is at a level 5. And then by you not addressing that emotion, it starts to stick in the body and starts to grow and grow and grow and grow. And it takes time now. It's not going to happen overnight, but it takes a very long time. And then once it grows to a point when it wants to manifest itself, which it wants to manifest in the form, the physical form, like I told you before, you have the, on a simpler note, like I said, you have the physical body, the energetic body, and you have the emotional body, right? So the emotional body, the emotions that you're experiencing, over a period of time, it trickles down to the energetic body. Once it gets to the energetic field, this is when people start to say, man, their energy feel like this, or their energy feel like that. They're starting to pick up your energy in your aura field. They're starting to sense this energy that's inside of you, that's emanating outside of you. And then over a period of time, depending on what that energy is, whether it's a negative or positive emotion or energy, it trickles down into the physical body. And then you have a manifestation in the physical body, such as some type of cancer or a tumor or a mental disorder or some type of STD or some type of cardiovascular issue, whatever it is, it manifests in the physical form. Therefore, that is what you're now currently experiencing, right? That's the cause and the effect. So when a lot of these doctors be saying, oh, I don't know, we don't know the root cause of why you're having this particular type of cancer that is considered to be a rarity. We don't know why you're having that experience. They're not going to know why you're having that experience because they don't have the technology to sense where it's being, let's say, created, or where it is being transferred to and from. So another example of that would be is, say for instance, you go to the doctor, right? And you go to the doctor and you don't know what's wrong with you, but you know something wrong with you, right? You ever had a moment like that when you go to the doctor and you're like, oh, I just know my heart, something's wrong with my heart. I don't know what's going on with my heart. I just know I need to get some tests done. Then you run the test and like, oh, Mr. Foster, or, whatever, something's wrong with your nothing's wrong with your tests, nothing's wrong with you, right? And you be like, nah, something's there. I know something's there. Intuitively, you picked it up. Something's definitely wrong. It just hasn't manifested in the physical yet. So when you go to a doctor, they can only test what's in the physical. They can't test what's energetic, but you feel something's happened energetic. So what's happening is you have to do something what we like to call prevent maintenance, or you want to take a preventive practice, some type of preventive service, someone you can reach out to who can help you alleviate or remove that particular energy residence, that particular energetic debris that's sitting in your body, help them flush that away so it doesn't manifest into some type of illness or disease. So they cannot sense what has not happened yet. They cannot detect what has not been created in the physical form yet, because it's still in the energetic form. It hasn't fully integrated into the physical form to where they can pick it up. But you intuitively picked it up, and that's why you're sitting in front of the fucking doctor, right? And so let's backtrack. So what I'm talking about right now is emotional healing. And so go back to what I was saying about the scab, right? If the body can heal a scab, a cut, then why can't the body heal an emotional wound or emotional trauma, right? Why? Why can the body not do that? Because we get in the way of it. The body is the master healer. It can do whatever it needs to do to survive and sustain its life force energy. So we don't really have to do anything. But what has happened is we've been taught to suppress and repress our emotions, that we wind up doing something that stops the process of the body trying to heal itself. And so now that we need people to reach out to who does these particular services, or even, you could do anything. You could even do like an ayahuasca trip or like a psychedelic experience. You have all these things outside of you that helps you alleviate emotion, because we do not know how to release emotions by ourselves. So we need something outside of ourselves to support us in that way. So with that being said, if the body can heal itself, such as a physical cut, it can also heal emotional trauma and completely remove the emotional trauma. So when I had that experience with my mama, when I started crying, guess what? Crying is a powerful tool to release the deepest and most difficult emotions out of the body. Crying is a fucking tool that we have been taught to not do anymore. No one cries. No one does that. We used to do this shit all the time when we was kids, and then we became an adult or adolescent, and then we stopped crying. That is the most easiest way to release emotions, is crying. So we're talking about emotion and releasing. So it's never going to make sense to me when people say that we will always be healing. No, you will not always be healing. You're just probably not aware what you're trying to get rid of, or you're trying to, let's say, remove out the body, and so you feel like you're in a constant state of healing. But say, for instance, like for me, I knew that I went through my mama passing. I felt the heartache in my heart. When I had got the Reiki session done, guess what? The fucking heartache went away. How did that happen? Because I addressed the emotion that was creating the heartache. So you remove the emotion, because that's the cause and effect. We're talking about the law of cause and effect. And for every cause, there is an effect, and for every effect, there's a cause. We're talking about the universal laws. This is all applies to everything in existence. So I knew what the cause was of why I was having a heartache. My mama passing. I never addressed it. Last year, I started having crazy heart palpitations and heartaches, and I didn't know where the fuck it was coming from. Like I said, when you have an emotional distress or trauma to the body, it takes a while until it gets into the physical form where you actually feel it actually doing something to the physical body. So it's sitting in the body just festering. It's marinating. That joint in a pot cooking. You just putting all kind of season on it. It's just doing this thing. Eventually, it gets into the physical, and then you feel something, right? And so we don't need medical doctors. We need emotional doctors. We don't need medical scientists. We need emotional scientists, because that is really what you really want to dive deep into, your emotions. The mind and emotions are interconnected. So if you can deal with the mind, you should be able to deal with the emotions. But the only thing about that is that sometimes people focus so much on the mind that they don't focus enough on the emotions. You still need to have some type of release. You still need to have some type of transmutation dealing with the emotions. It's not enough to bring your mental awareness to your mental state and be like, oh, okay, I know where this comes from. I know this is something that happened in my childhood. You just became aware of it. That doesn't mean that it's been released. So when we talk about, we are always constantly in a place of healing, yes, because you're not releasing nothing. You're just becoming aware of it. Oh, yeah, I'm aware of my traumas, and I'm aware of the people hurting me in my life, and I'm aware of, how I grew up and my behavior habits and my patterns. That's not enough. Don't get me wrong, that's enough, because a lot of people are not aware of those things. The average Joe is not aware of those things, but it's still not enough to have the emotional release. And so, once again, go back to the same example. The body can heal itself through a physical cut. It can do the same thing with an emotional wound. But what we have done is we have got in the way, and we have inhibited the natural emotional process or mechanism for us to heal ourselves. And so what that looks like is when every time we experience a type of emotion, the first thing we do is we just imagine that your hands is these emotional hands that you're pressing down. We either suppress it or we repress it, right? So, something that's considered to be repressed is something that is subconsciously doing it without you having to even think about it. So like, say for instance, you're talking to your partner and they say something that you are very uncomfortable with. You don't even have to think about like not feeling it. Naturally, your emotional response is going to push that emotion down, because you have been constantly practicing unconsciously to not feel emotions. That's called a repressed emotion. A suppressed emotion is when a new emotion comes into your awareness and you consciously press it down, right? And just think about the two words that we're referring to, repressed and suppressed. You're pressing it down. You're pressing it until you're trying to numb it. It's to the point where you don't want to feel it. And that's how we get in our own way of allowing the body to naturally heal itself. So now you got to reprogram yourself to start feeling and allowing and releasing. As children, as babies, we never had a let me see. We never had the knowingness of how to repress or suppress emotions. Whenever a baby starts crying, the baby cries its ass off. It doesn't have like I think I'm gonna cry a little bit here, and then I'm gonna let a little bit go, and then it doesn't do that. It complies. It literally cries to the top of its lungs. It gets all that emotions out, and then it goes back to being happy. That's our natural state. We are living in an unnatural state based on how America has taught us to deal with our emotions. And so when people say, oh, this is a never-ending journey of healing, that's because society has made us live in a place that is unnatural to our natural biological organism. This physical body is not, the way this body is designed and set up is living in a very unnatural law, in a very unnatural way. And so we have these concepts that's not even conducive to the natural way of how we're supposed to live. And so when we stop repressing and suppressing our emotions, the body can start to feel and release these emotions that have been stored in our bodies for fucking years, for decades, for centuries. We even talk about generational trauma at this point, because some people can feel the generational trauma from their, ancestors, their grandparents, their parents. They can feel it in their bodies, and if it's up to them to either repress it some more, and then it goes into the next generation, or they become the ones who say, you know what, I'm gonna break the generational trauma, I'm gonna break the generational curse, and I'm going to start releasing all of this trauma, all of this built up anger, all of this built up frustration, all this built up sadness and despair, all this built up, distrust and lack of love that they have experienced in all of their ancestors and all of their grandparents through their physical body. And that's some fucking work, just saying all that shit. So I can, I have empathy and sympathy for people who go through that, because there are people who really go through that. You know what I'm saying? And so you will know, so let's go back, right? You will know when you have, like, say, gotten to a place where you have let go of this, of the emotion. You'll start to feel much lighter. You'll start to, when someone says for instance, when someone talks about my mother and like, oh, my mother passed, or they talk about their mother, I don't feel triggered by that. I don't feel no resistance. I don't feel like, don't talk about that. Like, that's a sensitive subject for me. I don't have that reaction. Why don't I have that reaction? Because that emotion is no longer stored inside of me. That's when people be like, yo, like, you know how people go around saying, don't push my button, don't push my button. What they're really saying is, don't trigger me, don't trigger me. I have something that's inside of me that is an open wound that I have not got rid of or not closed up and healed, that if you touch that particular button, it's gonna trigger me, and then I'm gonna get activated, and then I'm gonna go off on your fucking ass, right? And so when you do not have those particular experiences, those particular emotional responses, then you have cleared that particular energy outside of your body. So that's a good indicator to tell if you have finally let go of some shit. A lot of us are mentally telling ourselves that we have let go of some shit, but the shit is still stored in the fucking body. So getting into the practice of feeling, that in itself is a fucking goddamn high advanced practice in itself, because people just don't like to fucking feel. So if you can get into the practice of feeling your emotions, and I don't mean like, okay, Josh, I felt a little anger today, I guess that's what you mean. No, I mean like feeling the full totality of your fucking emotion. Lean into the emotion, ease into the emotion, so you fully feel it. It's just kind of like having sex. If I tell you to have sex with someone, you're not going to say, oh, I feel a little bit of pleasure. The fuck? No. You're going to put all of your dick inside of it. The woman's going to put all her vagina inside on top of it, or whatever. You're going to feel the whole entire emotion of sex. It's the same thing with your emotions. Feel the whole goddamn emotion and allow yourself to process it so it can be released. I promise you, you won't die from feeling a fucking emotion. I've never died from feeling any of my motherfucking emotions. We have literally altered our perception with emotions. We have made it such a bad thing. It's like the boogeyman. No one wants to talk about their emotions. No one wants to feel their emotions. And therefore, the emotions get one level up The emotions has a pedestal. The emotion has authority over us to where we give it so much power when we can just simply look at emotions as a fucking sensation that is in the body that is trying to express itself. And we allow it to express itself. We don't say, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. You ain't got to do that. Just feel it. Now, this takes practice, because I remember when I understood this concept, it was pretty tough. I'm not saying that this shit is, you know what I'm saying, you walking with Miss Daisy. But what I'm saying is that to prevent yourself, like I said, prevent maintenance, prevent yourself from not experiencing or prevent yourself from experiencing diseases and illnesses and things of that nature that can happen over a period of time. You want to start releasing more of your emotions. This is what people call doing the work. So let's go back to the Lotus concept. So the Lotus concept, the Lotus flower concept is about purity, it's about enlightenment, and it's about, let's say, transcending. It's about transformation, right? So the reason why I say that you cannot sit up and tell me, you can't tell me, that we are here and we will always be here healing into the day that we die, is because the amount of work that I've done over the past 8 years has gotten me to a place where I am very clear. And I don't mean like clear in terms of mental clarity. I mean like I'm clear energetically. Like I can do things, and it's not a bragging thing, but I can do things that normal people can't do because my emotional field, my energetic field is very clear. A lot of us want to have these spiritual powers and these psychic abilities. A lot of us want to be on Netflix and be a part of the acting films of fucking Supacell. A lot of us want to be superheroes. And we do a lot of these practices to embody these particular spiritual powers. But no one ever thought to just clear out your fucking emotions, and these things will come more and more online. You guys do not know how many sessions I have had with people where we've done some energy clearing work, and they tell me the next few days, oh, I feel more intuitive. I feel like my third eye is more vibrant. I feel like I can just understand people well now. I feel like people can't tell me shit because my spiritual discernment is on a whole nother level. What did we do? We didn't do nothing. All we did was doing a clearing of their energy field and a clearing of their emotional field. A lot of the times, the reason why we can't experience these spiritual powers or these things that we want to have is because something's blocking us from experiencing it. So it's not like you're broke. It's not like you have to go in the Himalayan mountains and meditate with somebody unless you choose to do that particular practice. But a lot of times our spiritual gifts are right there in our motherfucking face, but we have all these emotions blocking us from retrieving and receiving that particular energy. So the importance of purity, the importance of purification is what we all should be seeking, aka doing the fucking work is what we all should be trying to do. Because ultimately, everyone wants to have all these amazing things, but they don't want to do the hard work. The fuck? You don't be a millionaire overnight. You could be a millionaire overnight, because I don't, I'm all about all possibilities. But let's just say, for the sake of the video and being more logical about it, you can't be a millionaire overnight. And I'm going to cancel it out and say it again that you can, because I do believe that you can. But you get what the fuck I'm trying to say. You can't be a millionaire overnight, aka you can't sit up and think that you're gonna fuck around, hover your ass up to God and be like, yeah, what's up though? I'm up here with you, and you ain't doing no goddamn emotional healing work. So once again, when you do a lot of emotional healing work, you start to feel a different resonance. You start to feel a different vibration inside of you. You start to feel much lighter. You know the concept, keep the heart lighter than the feather? You start to feel much lighter than a fucking feather. Right now, people are very heavy, hold on to a lot of shit. They like a fucking rock. And so the more that you do that work, then you start to get into higher teachings and higher understandings, where you start to shift your identity. And when you start to shift your identity, you start to identify with something higher than just your fucking emotions. So a lot of us are constantly identifying or paying attention to our emotions so much because our emotions are constantly on display. We're constantly in some type of pain. We're constantly in some type of discomfort. We're constantly in some type of imbalance emotionally, that's where our attention is constantly going. But just imagine that you clear out all this emotional baggage and you have nothing too much to hold on to. Now, don't get me wrong, you're gonna still go through life and have experiences where you're like, damn, that shit really hurt, or damn, like I can't believe that shit happened. But if you have a tool in your toolkit to help you release emotions, then it doesn't stay in the body, and then you go back to your high vibration. You don't stay in it, you go back to the baseline vibration. You keep elevating. So it does happen into that regard, but you don't want to keep like just thinking that throughout your whole entire life, this is something that you're always going to be experienced. We call that ignorance. So while you're having these experiences, you start to identify with what you truly are and not what you're not, and you start to identify with what you are and not what you think you are. A lot of us think that we are our thoughts. A lot of us think that we are our emotions. And so every time you feel sadness, you say, oh, I am. Every time you say I am, you put something behind the I am, that's what you become. So that's an affirmation. I am sad. So now you're sad. I am depression. Okay, so now you're depressed. But you cannot be eating emotion because emotion is constantly changing. One day you might be sad, one day you might be happy. So how can you be eating emotion when today you're happy and tomorrow you're sad? It's constantly changing. So it's never permanent. It's impermanent, right? It's constantly changing. Therefore, you can never be in emotion. So you have to be more mindful of that these emotions are just like waves of water that's moving. It's just like a traveler who just passing by. Emotions are just supposed to pass by. They're never supposed to stay inside of the body. What keeps the emotions inside of the body is us keeping the emotions inside of the body. We are like wardens, and emotions are like jailmates, and we're keeping our emotions as prisoners in a prison cell when they want to be released and be freed. But due to our social conditioning and programming, we've been taught to suppress and suppress and suppress. And now the emotions are stored in the body. And now they're prisoners. So understanding that you are not your emotions, understand that you're not your thoughts. That's why when you get into meditation, they tell you to bring your awareness to your thoughts and realize that you are not your thoughts. You'll see your thoughts start talking to you. You see that voice start talking to you. You start to see images, and you start to see a separation in that. You see that you're actually not these things. You got the subject and you got the object. The object is the thoughts. The object is the images. The object is the voice that you hear. The subject is you, pure awareness, bringing your awareness to all these things that you're seeing inside of your mind, or seeing around your aura, or seeing around your energy field. You're just bringing awareness to it. It's kind of like Haru. It's kind of like Haru or Horus in the Kemetic mythology, right? Where Haru is the hawk, right? What is the hawk? The hawk is the observer. We are the observer of our thoughts and our emotions and our actions. So you're the hawk who's hovering over your thoughts and your emotions. You can literally hover over, you can literally see your thoughts and your emotions. Like you can literally become aware of them. You are not your thoughts. You cannot be so completely ingrained into a thought unless you have lost yourself. You lost your sense of awareness. You lost your sense of self. And so then you think you are your thoughts. That's what you fucked up at. We all done it. I'm not judging here. We all have done it. But I'm bringing this to your awareness right now. You have to get into a space where you realize you are not thoughts, you're not your emotions, you're not your physical body, you're not your name, you're not your race, your fucking ethnicity, you're not your religion, you're not your fucking job description, your occupation. I don't give a fuck what you claim that you think you are. You're none of these things. You're none of them. So once you realize that, you start to lighten your load. And so when we talk about emotions, you start to realize why you're taking your emotions so serious when you're not in emotion. You're not in emotion, so why do you take it so serious? Because of the perception that we carry about emotions. I am amplifying or upgrading your perception through this video. Stop looking at your emotions as something like the boogeyman or something that you don't need to confront. that you're giving it all your fucking power. That's why this is so interesting. When you have an emotional release, like I said, you start to feel lighter. Why is that? It's because that suppression of the emotion that was stored in the body had an energetic reservoir or an energetic frequency that was also embodied in that emotion. When you release that emotion, guess what? You get your power back. You get your life force energy back. That's why people start to say, oh, I feel more energized. I start to feel more lighter. I feel more clear. Why is that? Because that energy was suppressed. It's like literally you pushing someone down in the water and they need to fucking breathe. Now that you allow this energy to come up, it starts to feel more expansive. You start to get more of your energy back. So we have these pockets of life force energy that is stored inside of our bodies that are suppressed based off some type of traumatic experience or something that we have suppressed and repressed over years. It's just sitting in our body, just sitting, just ain't no energy, just flat. And the more work that we do, the energy starts to open up. It opens up, it opens up, it opens up. Because there's layers to emotions. There's fucking layers to emotions. It opens up, opens up. Eventually, the bitch is gone. It's open up. Now you got all this energy flow. Oh my God, I feel this, I feel that. Yeah, it was it was hidden, or it was, let's say, stored in the wrong place. Let's just say, like, all emotions are neutral. We make it bad or good. Emotions, all that is just life force energy. And it could be utilized. We over here not utilizing these emotions when they could be utilized. So, like I said, this journey is not for us to be doing it's not for us to do the work for the rest of our lives. You're supposed to be doing the work just enough to where you can get into the ascension process, or the process where you start to get into your true knowing of who you are. But you will never know who you are if you're constantly dealing with deep conflicted emotions. Your awareness is what you truly are. It's going to always constantly go to where it's disturbed the most. So if you're not disturbed, if you're in a place of harmony and bliss and happiness, guess what? That's like your natural frequency. When you're in that particular energy, then you naturally vibrate or operate in the energy you're supposed to be operating in, which is joy, bliss and happiness. When you're having these particular sadness and depression, all these other things inside of you, and I'm not saying that these emotions are not a part of you. This might confuse some people. These emotions are a part of you, but these emotions are not you, if that makes sense. Because we're talking about duality. When you talk about duality in this particular context, the emotions that we experience, yes, this is something that you are experiencing, but it's not a part of who you truly are, but you are still experiencing it because it's a part of who you are, because we're everything. We're nothing and we're everything at the same time. So that might be a little bit too advanced understanding, but to keep it more simple, don't identify with your emotions. Don't identify with your thoughts. That is not who you are. It's not who you are. It's not who you are. It's not who you are. And so the more that you clear out all this energy, the more you start to have understanding, like, you know what? This entity called Joshua Tree, I'm just basically clearing out the energy or the emotions or the experiences that they have experienced over the past X and Y and Z. You start to see that you are parenting or supporting this character that you're playing in your fucking movie. That is in a nutshell what you're doing. You're supporting this character called Joshua Tree. You're supporting this character called Sarah, this character called Lindsay, this character called Ray, whoever your name is. You're supporting that character to become that lotus flower that gets into a state of purification and enlightenment. You're supporting that version of yourself. And when you see it from this third person view, when you start to see it from that perspective, you stop taking shit personal, because this is not who you are. So you can never go through a life of emotional healing when you know who you truly are. I don't go around every day thinking like, when can I got release emotions today. My vibration don't always be on that. Like, I have my moments and days and experiences where my energy might drop some, but I also have a consistent practice where my shit get lifted right the back the fuck up. So it's not like I'm over here like, Now you have some emotions that are very deeply stored that you might need a little bit more work, but on a on a basic scale, for me personally, my emotions are not that deep because I've done a lot of deep work to uproot these deep and dark trees that was sitting in my garden. I uprooted. So a lot of my experiences are more just like, someone cut me off in traffic. I got a little anger issue for the day. That's it. Ain't nothing deep. And what I do is, like I said, I feel the anger and I release it. It's not about I don't turn hawk. I understand that I just had an experience with anger. That's all just happened. I just had experience with anger. Oh, this is what anger feels like. Oh, let me feel anger, because this anger feeling is something different. I don't really experience anger like this. Damn, anger is really a interesting energy. It's an interesting sensation. It's an interesting emotion. I don't judge it. I look at it for what it is. It's just a sensation. Oh, angry is just negative. You should never be angry. I get it. We live in the world of duality. That's how most people view their shit. And if that works for you, then that's fine. Do what you do. But what I'm telling you is, don't judge your fucking emotions, because you're going to keep this constant ebb and flow state. Just look at emotions for what it is and make it non-dualistic. An emotion is an emotion. A sensation is a sensation. Even happiness. Happiness is a sensation. Yes, it feels better, but it still is a sensation. You still want to neutralize it. You don't want to make one emotion better than another emotion. All of it is relevant. All of it is part of the human experience. I've been cooking for 46 minutes. I gotta get off this mic because I don't do long videos. Let me see if I want to wrap it up. So, recap. If you got a scar on your fucking finger, your hand, and it healed itself, then let you know that your emotions can do the same. And emotions can get to a place where you no longer have to worry about if it's going to come back into that place of chaos if you allow the body to fully heal it and you fully release it. Once it's out the body, it's out the body. And also, if you're thinking like, okay, well, I just experienced a relationship issue or something like that. I had a heartbreak, and Joshua, I hear what you're saying, and I did some healing work on my heart, and now it's finally released. But now I'm in a new relationship, and so I don't really know if what's going to happen, if I'm experiencing another heartbreak again. What I noticed is that when you change your resonance and you wise the fuck up based off of the past experiences that you had, you don't attract the same partners. So if you've done that work where you have loved yourself and you release that emotion out of your heart, then the next partner that you attract, they're going to be the people that's going to be the person that you can trust. But also be aware, because I'm going to say this, I ain't going to say this is the absolute. Be aware if they done any type of work. Because if they ain't doing no motherfucking work, or they're not aware of themselves, then it's a potential, right? All truths are but half truths. All truths are but half truths. There's a potential that they can hurt you. But don't go into a relationship thinking that. If you wised up and abstracted the experiences that should have created wisdom for you, you should have better discernment and know how to move if you're in that particular relationship. All right. So, yes, I'm going to get off this mic because I have some places I have to be today, you guys. So it was nice chatting with you. Let me know what you guys think about this video, if it resonated, if it hit hard for you. And I will get back with you guys on another video, right? So on that note, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. It's a Saturday out here, so I'm about to go enjoy myself. I'm in Atlanta right now, so I'm about to go enjoy these Atlanta streets. And on that note, peace.